Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Lately there's been this massive narrative dominating the headlines, and we really need to unpack it today. We're going to figure out whether the EV revolution is actually stalling out or if it's just quietly growing up. We've got a ton of fresh data from early 2026 to dive into, so let's get right to it. All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with an EV reality check, then look at smarter EV charging networks, explore the used EV boom, unpack the solid-state battery breakthrough, and finally, map out the road ahead. So, Section 1, the EV reality check, a look at the current market. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and look at the hard numbers because they are pretty wild. Global automakers have actually booked over $70 billion in write-downs as they significantly scale back their EV production plans. And in trend-setting markets like California, there was a massive 37% drop in new EV sales in the first quarter of 2026. This hesitation isn't coming from nowhere, right? It stems from a perfect storm of expiring federal tax credits and this lingering, stubborn consumer anxiety over public charging reliability. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Is the EV revolution actually stalling, or is it just maturing? What you really should take away here is that when everyday consumers hesitate, capital naturally shifts. The market isn't dying, it's simply demanding better, more reliable infrastructure before it takes its next monumental leap. Moving right along to Section 2, Smarter EV Charging Networks, Quality over Quantity. Now, take a look at this map, because there is massive potential quietly building out across the country right now. If the alternative fuel corridors, basically our national highway network, are built out with fast chargers exactly as federally planned, an astonishing 94% of U.S. counties will achieve consecutive fast charging coverage. That means essentially wiping out the dreaded range anxiety for the vast majority of the country. And the great news is we are finally clawing our way out of the dark ages of broken apps, spinning connection screens, and stranded drivers. In Q1 2026, most states are reliably seeing 90 to 95% charger uptime. Even better, 67% of all new ports being installed right now are 250 kilowatt or higher. Blazing fast charging is no longer some premium luxury, it's just the new baseline expectation. And it's massive commercial investments that are really putting their foot on the gas here. Take Uber, for example. They are injecting $100 million to build out 1,000 high-power DC fast-charging ports across the US and Europe. They're partnering with major players like EVgo, Ionity, and Electra, and they're even offering minimum utilization guarantees to protect those providers. Why this matters is actually pretty simple. Uber absolutely needs this bulletproof infrastructure to support their rapidly expanding robotaxi ecosystem. Commercial demand is literally forcing the public charging network to grow up. Okay, let's shift gears to Section 3, the used EV boom, price parity arrives. Guys, this number right here is an absolute game changer. The price gap between a used EV and a comparable used gas car, it has plummeted to a mere $1,300. Just think about that for a second. Just a couple of years ago, that gap was well over 10 grand. With nearly half of all used EVs now selling for under $25,000, electric driving is finally genuinely unlocked for everyday household. And as you can see, this newfound affordability is completely flipping the script on sales. While new EV market share held completely flat at 5.8%, used EV sales skyrocketed 12% year over year. As this massive wave of formerly leased EVs floods back into the market, they're being scooped up in just 42 days on average. The demand is absolutely there, the price just had to be right. Next up, Section 4, Solid-State Battery Breakthrough, the next leap. So what exactly is a solid-state battery? Well, to put it simply, it swaps out that highly flammable liquid inside traditional lithium-ion cells for a stable, solid material, like a polymer, oxide, or sulfide. This immediately makes the battery inherently safer, and it completely eliminates the internal short circuits, those pesky things known as dendrites that really hold back our current designs. From a safety perspective, this is a total generational leap. Traditional liquid batteries can start failing and, catching fire at around 90 degrees Celsius. But solid state, they can withstand blistering heat up to 247 degrees Celsius before a thermal event occurs. That almost entirely wipes out the risk of those sensationalized battery fires we occasionally see dominating the news cycle. But honestly, the performance upgrade is the real showstopper here. Solid-state tech could comfortably double energy density to over 400 watt-hours per kilogram. For you, sitting behind the wheel, that means potentially unlocking 1,000 kilometers of range on a single charge. No way, right? Plus, it drops charging times down to the length of a quick coffee break, just 5 to 15 minutes, and it stays perfectly stable even in negative 40-degree winters. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Road Ahead, Rollout Timeline. So we're actually sitting in Phase 1 right now. We're already seeing semi-solid batteries hitting the road with just a tiny bit of liquid left in them. But Phase 2 is literally right on our doorstep. Expect limited production of true solid-state batteries to begin in 2026 and 2027, initially targeting premium vehicles. Then Phase 3, which brings the mass production and highly competitive market pricing we all want, is slated for 2030 and beyond. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with the thought. The charging networks are getting drastically faster and far more reliable. Used EVs have finally hit price parity, and solid-state batteries are about to double your range while drastically cutting your charge times. With all of these massive hurdles actively being cleared, is the EV revolution actually stalling, or is it finally ready for you? Thank you so much for exploring the data with me today.